Story 1. My 47-year-old self and my 17-year-old daughter live in Canada. We're lucky to have many outdoor rinks in our area, but there's one we particularly like. It's well-maintained, with team benches, sturdy boards, and regular resurfacing by the city every hour. Overall, it's the perfect spot. You can reserve an hour at this rink for $15 using a sign-up sheet, but when it's not booked, it's free to use. My daughter, who plays at a very high level of competitive ice hockey, often reserves an hour or two. She usually invites several of her teammates to come along for casual games. About a week ago, my daughter, I, and 4 of her teammates were halfway through our reserved time when a group of boys probably around 13 to 14 years old pulled up in a vehicle. They got out, laced up their skates, and started using the rink. They were passing and shooting pucks, leaving their gear scattered everywhere, and generally disrupting the girls' game. I approached them calmly, showing them the sign-up sheet that confirmed my daughter had paid for this time. I politely asked them to clean up their gear and wait another 30 minutes until the schedule was clear. One of the boys, let's call him Entitled Kid, rolled his eyes, turned his back on me, and ignored the request. His friends followed suit, continuing to interfere with the game. I told the girls to pick up the boys' gear and toss it over the boards onto the mats along the edge of the rink. This upset Entitled Kid, who began complaining. At that moment, his parents' entitled father and entitled mother got out of their vehicle and approached us, asking what was going on. The kid smirked and exaggerated the situation, claiming he and his friends were just trying to play hockey when a bunch of girls came over and started bothering them. I attempted to show the parents the same clipboard, but entitled father immediately sided with his son, insisting we leave and come back later. He even claimed they were there first, which wasn't true, and added that girls are too weak and fragile to play with boys. A few minutes later, a city worker arrived and confirmed that my daughter's reservation entitled her to the rink for the next half hour, regardless of who showed up first. Entitled mother suggested they go to another rink, but entitled father refused, saying, "No, I'll get these girls to leave." In an effort to resolve the situation, my daughter skated over and invited the boys to join their game, ensuring everyone could play without getting in each other's way. However, entitled father and entitled kid continued to spout stereotypes about girls being incapable of excelling in male-dominated sports. They also complained that women's hockey was too easy because it doesn't allow physical contact. Despite the negativity, the other boys seemed eager to play, so they agreed to join. Entitled Kid, clearly irritated, muttered comments about how easy it would be to dominate the girls. I took a seat on one of the benches while entitled father and entitled mother sat on the other. What entitled father and entitled kid didn't realize was that my daughter's team plays at an elite level. Since physical contact isn't allowed in women's hockey, these girls have honed their agility and puck handling skills to an extraordinary degree. Unlike in men's hockey, where body checking is a significant strategy, these girls rely entirely on finesse and control. Sensing an opportunity to teach a lesson, I quietly encouraged my daughter and her teammates to play their absolute best. For the next half hour, we watched as my daughter's team completely outplayed the boys. The girls outmaneuvered them, controlled the puck effortlessly, and dominated every aspect of the game. Entitled Kid grew visibly frustrated, and in a moment of poor judgment, he decided to charge at my daughter as fast as he could, attempting to slam her into the boards. Instead, he missed entirely and crashed knee first into the door. He got up immediately, but his frustration boiled over. He began yelling about how it's not fair and demanded that his father take him home. Entitled mother muttered something about how this is a public rink and we have a right to be here, but the trio eventually left, hurling mild insults on their way out. Interestingly, some of Entitled Kid's friends chose to stay. The remaining boys teamed up with the girls, and they continued playing harmoniously until the next reservation began. Those boys later revealed that they didn't share Entitled Kid and Entitled Father's outdated views about women in hockey. They only tolerated the duo because Entitled Father was their house league coach. Looking back, I'm not upset about the incident. It's just baffling that some people still hold such backward opinions about women in sports. My daughter and her teammates proved, once again, that skill and determination have nothing to do with gender. Story 2. Hey everyone, it's been a few months, and I've had some people asking for updates, so I just wanted to confirm that I'm alive and healthy. Forgive me if I don't do a recap, seriously, I've done way too many already. To start with the updates, my mom has finally been arrested. It turns out she never became a citizen, just a resident, which means she might be facing deportation rather than jail time. Either outcome works for me. The last time I heard from her was a little before Christmas through some of her friends, now ex-friends, who came to ask why I had accused her of tax fraud. They had been under the impression that she sent me monthly allowances because I was a failed college student. It only took me about 10 minutes to clear up that misunderstanding. Funny enough, keeping my diploma on the wall really helps correct people's assumptions about who the real Leash is. My mom's sisters have been a nightmare on social media, to be honest. They've been blaming me for everything, saying it's all my fault that the family's name has been dragged through the mud. To be honest, I'm planning to change my last name to remove my mother's surname entirely. Of course, I made sure to post about that, and it only made things worse. They even had a Catholic priest call me because they convinced him I wasn't honoring my mother like a good Christian should. You should have seen his face when I told him I decided to convert to Buddhism, a complete lie. By the way, as I'm happily agnostic, I have nothing against him personally. I'm sure my aunts fed him some fabricated story. I also decided to visit Chris in jail. This visit was purely for my own satisfaction, a final good riddance, if you want to see it that way. He never managed to gather the money to post bail, so he's been sitting in jail, awaiting trial sometime in January, if I remember correctly. Gotta love those court backlogs. When he saw me, he had the audacity to call me my Vita and tried to act all lovey-dovey. I wasn't having any of it. I showed up with my boyfriend, remember my coworker, the big, scary teddy bear? Well, things happened, and now we're together. I told Chris this was the last time we'd ever speak. Loudly, I called him out for being a terrible person and for the monstrous things he did. I reminded him of how he kidnapped a little girl and how sick and twisted his actions were. I also found out the cousin he hurt was even younger than me at the time. I didn't hold back as I told him he was a grown man, well into his 30s, preying on a 9-year-old child. He started crying, claiming he was sick and that my love could cure him. I told him, very clearly, that I already had someone I loved, and that this would be the last time I wasted my breath on him. Honestly, I just wanted him to see that I was in a healthy relationship, and that my life was coming together, despite the years of torment he put me through. I also made sure to let him know I'd do everything in my power to ensure the cousin he hurt has a good life, too. As I left, I could tell some of the other inmates in the room had heard our exchange. I overheard a guard cursing under his breath and calling for backup to escort Chris away. The guard gave me a tired look as I passed by, and I did feel a bit bad for making his job harder. I've been in contact with Chris' cousin, just like I promised. She's around the same age I was when Chris did his worst to me. Thankfully, in her case, things didn't go as far. Her mom has been really sweet and supportive of us talking. I also let them know that if they ever needed any kind of support, whether emotional or financial, they could reach out to me. I made it clear that this offer was only for them, excluding my ex-stepfather and Chris, of course. They've been nothing but kind to me, and I can't blame them for not noticing the abuse sooner, considering we barely ever crossed paths. As for the house I wanted to buy, unfortunately, I didn't get it. But that's okay. Since starting a new relationship, I decided to pause on any big steps. It was stressing me out, and this is my first formal relationship, so I didn't want to rush into anything. A bit of sad news: my cat, who lived to 23 years old, bless her soul, passed away. She had an aggressive form of mouth cancer that caused her to deteriorate rapidly in just a few days. After much thought, I decided it was time to let her go. I couldn't bear to watch my best friend of 2 decades suffer like that. This is another reason I'm glad I still live with my half-brother and his family. My nephews have been my biggest support during this loss. And, not wanting to jump the gun, but I did get permission from my boyfriend to post this, I'm also learning how to take on a more maternal role. My boyfriend is a single dad to the sweetest 4-year-old. Her mom sadly passed away when she was a baby, so I'm the first female figure in her life as a partner to her dad. We're not rushing into the mom title right away. For now, I'm just her dad's friend, and she's warmed up to me really quickly. I've grown to love spending time with her. She even made me a drawing of my cat with little angel wings, so I'd always know my cat is watching over me. I'm not going to lie, I teared up when I saw it. So yeah, life is starting to get back to normal. It's a mix of good and sad news. I'm learning what it's like to be with someone who truly likes and respects me. All in all, I'm doing much better. Story 3. Do I really not visit my family enough? I'm so exhausted with their demands. I confirmed plans with my dad for my husband and me to come over today, and he responded with, "Well, I'm going to tell you, I feel like you guys are always putting his needs or his family before your needs and your family. That's not fair." What? Are you kidding me right now? I am a grown adult who still answers to her family's every beck and call like a child. You need money? I give you money. Need a driver? I'm your driver. Need me to babysit? I'll babysit. House sit when my mom and stepdad are away on business trips? Yup, I have to do that a lot. Want me to come to an event? Give me the time and date, I'm there. All of that for free because, duh, they're family. And I'm still juggling married life, a full-time job, weekly appointments because, on top of everything, I have multiple disabilities and am barely able to even work full-time to begin with, and daily responsibilities. Not to mention, I come over just to visit multiple times a month. That's not even including the times they need me. I do everything I can for my family at the cost of my mental health and energy, but apparently, it's not enough. Nothing I do is ever enough. I'm so tired. My husband, on the other hand, maybe gets to see someone from his family once every 3 months, 4 months, sometimes longer. It's actually not fair to him at this point. My dad is completely deluded because the situation is the other way around. My husband and I have not seen his mother since Thanksgiving. But we've visited my dad twice just this week alone, and we're about to do it again today. Not to mention once the week before, and before that, etc. This is the text I sent back. I don't see how. My cousin just spent half a week with me. I was at Nana's for Christmas, and I went to see Ninny and Papa too. We visit you several times a month. I go to all my siblings' events. When they say they need me there, I'm there. He never gets to go to his. He hasn't even been able to go to a single one of his brother's basketball games. He has had to drop plans with his family because someone from my family demanded we be there, and it's not fair to him. I've never dropped plans with mine for his. He sees his family once every few months. In fact, next weekend, he's literally about to go see his grandmother for the first time in 4 years, and I'm getting to meet her. He has met all of my family, and I'm always getting to see y'all with or without him there. I've only met his parents, one set of grandparents and siblings, and we are married, and yet I still have yet to meet so many people. That's how little he gets to see his family. It's been over a year since he or his siblings have even seen their dad. In fact, no one can even get a hold of him. We went to his mom's for Thanksgiving and yesterday for a late Christmas. Before Thanksgiving, it had been a few months since we had visited her. We're going to your house for your Christmas tonight. We saw you at Nana's for Christmas at her place, and I visited you a few days before that too. Not to mention, I see Mom and my siblings multiple times a month. His response was, "Well, maybe it's just me. I feel like y'all do that too. Because you definitely do not come visit me several times a month. And I invite y'all almost every single week. I'm 10 minutes away, and it's maybe once a month that you come by, and sometimes not even that. And y'all have never, ever, not one time invited me and my brother to come visit and spend time with y'all at your place. Okay. First, I visit him every Saturday, and if I can't on Saturday, then I do on Sunday evening. Second, He invites us to church, not to come over and hang out. We are of a different religion. I'm not going to his church or any church. I am extremely uncomfortable with it and have told him over and over again that the answer will always be no, and yet he still asks every Sunday. Sorry, but not only do we believe in something different, but we are the exact type of people your denomination loudly and proudly proclaims to hate. Third, he lives 30 minutes away, not 10. Don't know where he pulled that number from. Fourth, we don't invite my side of the family over besides my cousins because they are judgmental as heck and have tried to rudely just show up at our door without calling. When we were moving, they made rude remarks about our roommate. Yes, married with a roommate, common in our area. Housing is expensive, our dog, decorations, our lifestyle, our beliefs, how I don't do a good enough job cleaning the floors because we have a high-shedding dog. Our floors are never going to be completely void of dog hair, but I promise I spend a lot of time cleaning, etc. Just said rude and judgmental things in general. He has said over and over again how he doesn't like how much our Husky German Shepherd mix sheds and how he would get dog hair all over him. Plus, my brother is terrified of dogs, so why is he even bringing this up as a point? He doesn't even want to come over himself. I'm just so tired. It feels like everyone wants to push and pull me around and demand time with them. I do enough, don't I? I personally don't know people my age 22 who spend as much time with their family as I do. I know some people who haven't spoken to their parents since they moved out. I have a friend who has seen hers 3 times this entire year. In my opinion, he should feel blessed he gets to spend any time with me at all. I'm trying to have my own life and balance all this other stuff at once. Give me some grace, for goodness sake. Story 4. My husband and I had just moved into our new home 6 months ago. It was perfect 3 bedrooms, a spacious living room, and a beautiful backyard where our 7-year-old son could play. We've been hosting small gatherings with friends, trying to make the most of our new space. Everything was going well until the July 4th weekend incident. It started with a group chat message from one of our friends' families. They were temporarily taking care of their friend's dog for a month, using it as a trial run before getting their own. Initially, we were supposed to meet at another friend's house, but they suddenly suggested we host instead since we had a backyard where the dog could play. I tried to politely decline hosting, but the entitled mom quickly jumped in, gushing about how perfect it would be for the dog to have space to run around. The entitled dad backed her up, pointing out that our backyard was much bigger than the original location. I felt cornered. Saying no would make us seem unwelcoming, so we reluctantly agreed. I assumed the dog would stay in the backyard, a reasonable expectation, right? Wrong. The day arrived, and they showed up with this energetic Labrador. At first, everything seemed fine. We were all in the backyard, and their 9-year-old was playing with a dog. Then I noticed him throwing my son's toys to the dog. I started to object about the toys not being meant for dogs, but the entitled mom cut me off, cooing about how happy the dog looked and insisting that dogs needed toys to play with. The dog had already chewed through a few of them. They were just dollar store toys, but still it was the principle of the thing. Then came the real problems. As we headed inside for drinks, the entitled mom accidentally let the dog in, claiming she couldn't stop him because he was too fast. I closed the door when the dog went back out. We needed the air conditioning on, but their kid kept opening it. The entitled dad suggested we all move back outside because the dog seemed bored. So we did. But the pattern continued in and out, in and out. During dinner, their kid wouldn't stop whining about the dog being lonely. The entitled mom told him to finish his food first, promising they could let the dog in afterward. True to her word, she let the dog in after dinner. It immediately jumped all over my couch, making itself comfortable like it owned the place. I was counting the minutes until they left. But the real show happened near the end. One of our other friends went to get something from their car, and the entitled mom decided this was the perfect time to let the dog explore the front yard without a leash. A man walking his dog passed by, and chaos erupted. Their dog started barking and charging toward the other dog. The pedestrian had to shout to scare it away, angrily telling them off about leash safety and the dangers of their irresponsible behavior. Everyone was outside watching this unfold. Their kid, looking mortified, went to tell our other friend's wife what happened. I defended the pedestrian, explaining that he was just scared for his dog's safety and had every right to be upset. The kid then confronted his mom in front of everyone, demanding to know why she hadn't used the leash and pointing out how dangerous her actions were. The entitled mom stammered that she hadn't thought it through, only to have her child lecture her further about safety. The entitled mom's face turned bright red. She mumbled something about getting ready to leave and hurried inside to gather their things. They left shortly after, making weak excuses about having other plans. The next day in our group chat, they were suspiciously quiet when we discussed future gatherings. I heard from another friend that they decided to wait a while before getting their own dog. Sometimes karma works in perfect ways. Their own kid ended up teaching them the lesson they needed to learn. Story 5. It's a long story, but bear with me. We currently live in Ukraine, where me and my sister were born. In 1995, when our country was still a mess from the collapse of Soviet Union and the crime rate was still sky high, my mother got assaulted when she returned from work and, as a result, got pregnant with Allie. She basically had no means of getting an abortion because she barely had enough money to even feed herself, thanks to the collapse of our economy. Giving the child up for adoption was also out of the question because any orphanage would just refuse taking your child in. So when Allie was born in 1996, she had to keep her. You probably already get where this is going. Yes, my mother had always resented Allie, either because she never wanted her, because she reminded her about what happened to her, or all of the above. I don't really know her exact reasoning behind that, nor do I care about it. 3 years later, she had met my biological father, and I was born, and had basically become the epitome of a golden child. My mother had spent time with me, she had bought me everything I wanted. She even had taught me how to read and use the computer at the age of 4. When I went to school, I was at the top of my class up to the 5th grade, thanks to all the time that my mother had spent with me. And then there was Allie, wearing cheapest and the most ragged clothes you could ever find, not even knowing the taste of ice cream up until the age of 12, not being allowed to spend time outside at all, and constantly being grounded for lacking in education. My mother has always avoided talking with me about my sister. Whenever I asked her anything about her, she would just quickly change topic, or even specifically tell me, and I quote, not to worry about her. Well, thanks to the fact that when I was a child, my attention span was extremely short. Simply distracting me from what bothers me usually worked, and the topic of my sister was no exception. Needless to say, when I tried talking to Allie directly, she had simply ignored me, or straight out told me to get lost, because she hated me, and I can definitely imagine why. The first time that we actually shared more than a few words with each other was when her classmate had tried to bully her for how she dressed, and let's just say that she didn't let it slide. I witnessed it, and so did one of the teachers. So when my mother was called to the principal's office, a few of her other classmates, even said teacher and I, gave our side of the story, saying that Allie had been provoked by this kid, and that he had a reputation for being a jerk towards those who were weaker than him. Unfortunately for him, though, this time he had picked the wrong target. My mother had none of it, and this time, she decided that simply grounding her again isn't enough. So instead she had asked the principal to return my sister's documents, because my mother was going to send Allie to a special school, where the students are living on the premise of the facility and are only allowed to leave it for the winter and summer breaks, because she didn't raise a criminal. The principal had tried to tell her that it was a little too extreme, and even sided with Allie, stating that other than her grades, that was the first time she had ever got in trouble in this school, so there was no need for such drastic measures. But this time I had enough. I interrupted our principal, and it was the first time in my life when I had confronted my mother and raised my voice. I told her everything I thought about how she treated Allie, how she never explained to me. Why should I not worry about her? how she completely ignored what literally everyone in the principal's office was telling her, that it wasn't even her fault. Basically, I caused a scene for everyone in this room to see, berated and humiliated my mother, and ran off, shutting the door behind me. My mother, of course, followed me and tried to calm me down, as if it was about me again. I simply told her that if she is to follow through with her threats of sending my sister to that awful place, she might as well send me after her, because if she won't, I'll do everything in my power to get expelled from every single school she will send me to after this one. When we got home, Allie walked up to me and berated me for sticking my nose where it doesn't belong, yelling at my mother in front of entire school and pretending that I care about her, when in reality, I just don't want to spoil my perfect record with a sister being sent to a special school. She had only stopped this rant when our mother came in to see what all the commotion was about and stormed off to her room. I don't know where Allie got all of this from, but what was odd is that I was actually happy. It was the first time when she actually talked to me, and despite her being so mad and angry at me for what I did, I actually felt relieved. From that point on, I knew that there is a reason as to why she ignores me, and I spent the few following months trying to figure out what it was, trying to talk to her. At first, she kept ignoring me, brushing me off, or even getting angry at me. I gave it a rest for a few days and then tried again, and again, and again. Eventually, she started to answer my questions, one or few at a time, but that was the start. When I got enough information, I asked her to talk about all of this. It took a few months, but I really wanted to figure out why we don't get along, and if that's possible, change it. Finally, the time has come. Our mother was away and Allie had finally agreed to talk to me. The entire conversation wasn't too pleasant, because throughout most of it, I had to defend myself from baseless accusations from Allie. But closer to the end, she actually started to see my side of things, and I found out that I was actually wrong about the way my mother treated her, because turned out, I haven't seen even half of it. Allie even said sorry for projecting her feelings about our mother on me. But at that point, I kind of get why she would do that. If I were in her place, I'd probably hate her too. Unfortunately, we didn't suddenly become best friends after that conversation, and Allie still kept her distance from me. But that was the start. Sometimes we even got along, when it turned out that we both liked the same music and movies. Throughout the following couple of years, the distance between us became shorter and shorter. When she turned 15, she went to college, and despite it being in the same city that we lived in, she still chose to rent a room. You can probably see why. We still kept in touch. But as the time went on, we started talking less and less, especially considering that after finishing school, I also moved to the other side of our country to attend university. During the time we haven't been in touch, Allie started doing drugs, and one time she got overdosed. She made it, and once I heard about it from our uncle, who had actually loved both his nieces, I dropped everything and moved back to my hometown and spent 2 following weeks at the hospital with her. There were 4 people there. Allie, me, our uncle, and her ex-boyfriend with whom we haven't talked for about 7 years. Not only did our mother never show up to check on her daughter, but when she called me, instead of asking whether or not Allie is alive, she had the audacity to ask me, "Well, if you're already in our city, when will you visit me?" That was the last straw for me. I never even told her anything, just blocked her number and went no contact. Once my sister got back on her feet, we moved back to the city where my university is, and we still live together while she fights with her addiction. So far, she has been sober for a year, found a job, and visits the gym every day. Story 6. Hello. You might have blocked me, but I'm going to send this anyway. I'm sorry that I wasn't a better mother to you. I always knew the odds were not in my favor of being successful as a mom, but I thought that no matter what, I could never be as terrible as my own mother was to me. I believed that as long as I tried, things would work out as they should. I'm sorry that I didn't get professional help, but there are many things you don't know about me. I actually did try to seek help several times, but it only made things worse. Unfortunately for you and Sarah, I was always broken. I never really stood a chance. The only thing I could do was wake up every day and try again. And waking up every day was sometimes the hardest choice to make. Not because of you and Sarah, though I never wanted anything in my life more than I wanted both of you. I know I had a strange way of showing it. Ha! But you alone made me the best person I could be. Best may not have been good enough, but I truly tried. Even though I could have done more, I really did try my best. I'm sorry you had to mother me. I never had any idea what to do. Being a parent is hard, especially when you grow up without learning the good and only experience the bad. I tried to be supportive in the best way I could. I went to your award shows when I could and always cheered for you in my heart if I wasn't able to be there physically. I always spoke about you as my greatest achievement. I'd tell anyone who would listen how you're nothing like me, how wise and beautiful you are, and how you have the best head on your shoulders. I meant every word of it, and I thought it every single day. But I should have shown you those feelings in person. Emotions are hard for me. They make me feel weak and vulnerable, and I've learned that people use those vulnerabilities against you. I think you understand me well enough to know that. You know me better than anyone else. I don't believe I'm the worst person on the planet. I genuinely want good things for myself and for others. But I self-sabotage more often than not. I think it's something I learned early in life. While it's been helpful in some areas, it has also hurt the people who matter most. I never wanted to hurt you. Not even a little bit. I'm sorry if you ever thought that was my intention. I've kept many diaries over the years. I would write down all my thoughts and notice that I only wrote when my life was falling apart. Usually, it was after a fight with whatever partner I was with at the time or with you or Sarah. But the entries were never about the actual fights or what the other person had done. They were always about how awful I was as a person. I would write page after page, and then, as soon as I was done, I'd tear them to shreds and throw them away. Maybe it was in case I didn't wake up one day and someone found them, so they wouldn't know how pathetic I felt. Or worse, someone might find them while I was still alive. Of course, you became my therapist, even though you shouldn't have had to be. I couldn't open up to anyone else because I didn't trust people. You were my person. I shouldn't have put you in that position, but I did, and I can't take it back. Now, I guess it has left you traumatized or hurt. I never meant for that to happen. I've reached a point where I feel like I can't win, so I stopped trying at life. But no matter what, I'll still wake up the next day and face whatever mess I've created. I found your blue notebook. I didn't read everything, but I read enough. I wish you had told me about Elodie. It hurts that you didn't trust me enough, even with all my terrible shortcomings as a mother, to let me in, even a little. I would have tried to understand. I would have chosen my words more carefully and supported you in whatever way I could, even if it wasn't perfect. I don't know if that makes sense, but I would have been there for you. You are my best friend and will always be the best part of me. Always. No matter what you do or what you think of me, you are the most precious thing I've ever had in my life. Despite anything I've ever said or done to make you feel otherwise, you are the best of me. I hope you realize that you're better than me in every way, and I trust your decisions. I'm sorry if I was toxic to you. Please believe me when I say that it was never my intention. I just didn't know how to be better. Everyone I was supposed to trust let me down early in life. I never wanted to be that person for you, but maybe I was. Even so, I am so proud of you. I have no doubt you'll achieve everything you want in life because, even if we share some similarities you may not like, you are different in all the ways that make you better. I packed up the rest of your room and tried to organize everything, but there are a few random bags with miscellaneous items. You can come get them whenever it's convenient for you. I hope you're doing okay. I love you. Maybe one day everything will work out. If you need anything, I'm still here.